What is going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be working on the super cheap $500 Civic build, and if you've seen the last video, we just got done building a full exhaust for this thing, and the video before that was a start to finish build on our entire super cheap turbo kit. Well, if you guys seen those videos, you would know that we have been waiting on our injectors. I still am waiting on the ones that we wanted, but I was able to hop on Facebook Marketplace and I found these Bosch cores. They're 550cc injectors, and I was able to pick them up for 50 bucks. They did come with a top hat and a plug adapter, so we're gonna give these things a shot. Hopefully they will get us by until the ones we want come in. So let's get through the intro and jump right into today's video. Now that we've gotten through the intro, I want to give you guys a closer look at what we're working with. So these are those injectors that I just mentioned, and they did come with the top hats and all of the O-rings and seals that we were going to need. Now they did also come with a plug adapter, which I have right here, and this one goes on just like so, but sadly this is not the plug that is on our harness, so I had to go ahead and pick up another adapter. Now I know it's not ideal, we're going to be running two adapters here, but there's a couple reasons that I'm doing that. First off, these were super cheap injectors, and if they don't work out for us, I'm not sure what plug style the ones we're waiting on is going to be. So I figured if we do it this way, we can run any of the three style plugs. And also, if this doesn't work out great, I got one with a long enough lead on it where we can just cut this and splice it directly into our harness. So now that you guys have seen the injectors we're going to be using, let's go ahead and dive into this thing. We are going to have to modify a couple things and extend the studs or get longer bolts for the rail. So let's get in there, take the stock injectors out, get the rail off, and figure out what we're going to have to do to make these work. First thing we're going to do is just get in here and make some room. So I'm going to get our vacuum tee that we made out of our way for a second. Flip that up out of the way for a minute. I'm going to go in here and just break the 10mm bolt and stud loose for the rail here. Get that loosened up. Grab a 17mm wrench and break our fuel feed line loose. Be careful, if there's any pressure on the system, it's going to spray. I haven't touched the key, so we'll see if it's going to hold any pressure. Very well might. There's a little bit of fuel in there, but not bad. And we'll just stuff a rag down in there. Try to catch some of it. You don't want to lose your crush washer. Set that aside. I'm going to pull this line off. Let it drain into our cup here. Now I'm going to go through and unplug all of our injectors. Get these up out of our way. Now when we pull this rail up, I'm sure there's going to be at least a little bit of fuel in it, so just be careful, keep that in mind. Got that one off. Now our rail should be nice and loose. We should be able to just gently pull up and back on it, just like so. And now we can just go ahead and pop these injectors out. Wiggling back and forth, turn them a little bit, sometimes that helps. Got one. Be careful, they have these little filters on them, little screens. Make sure that you don't forget one or leave one in there. Now we can go ahead, take these injectors and set them off to the side. So I've decided we are going to go ahead and just take our rail right off. I want to clean it out. It's got a little bit of crap on it, and we'll just clean it up as well just so it looks a little better. We'll just take our return line off here, and then just pop this hose off the regulator, which is the return line. Might drip a little bit of fuel, but then we've got our whole rail right out, and it's just kind of nasty looking. So we're just gonna go ahead, clean this thing up real quick, make it look a little better, and also so I don't have to worry about anything getting in our new injectors. So let's head over to the bench, we'll clean this up and get back to it. It's not looking great, guys, but it's definitely a lot better than it was. So now we're gonna go ahead, get this thing all cleaned out again, and then we will get the injectors ready to go in it. So we're gonna do a little test fit here. I've got the new injectors, 2 of them sitting on our fuel rail here. Got the O-rings in, top hats on. Now, we did run into something. These little seals down here are a little bit different than the ones that come with the injectors, and I have a separate manifold, and they're a little bit different between the two, but I'm gonna try to make these work. So, like I said, I've just got 2 injectors on here for now, because we're test fitting. I wanna see what the height is gonna be, how they're gonna seat, and what I'm gonna have to get for bolts to be able to space this thing out a little better. These injectors are gonna sit a little bit higher than what I thought because of the way they are designed. They have these little plastic stops. They have these little plastic stops on them right here below the O-rings, and these are stopping them from going fully into the manifold. I could take this down a little bit, but I'm afraid that then we'll lose an O-ring into the intake. So we're gonna try it this way. I'm hoping it's not gonna leak or be a vacuum leak or anything, but we're just gonna have to try it. I can go ahead and mock up here, see what we're gonna need for some bolts to try to bolt this thing down. We are gonna have to get some that are a little bit longer than what we have here. So let's go ahead, take a measurement. We'll run down, get some bolts, come back and try to get this thing put together. Just got back from True Value and I picked us up some longer bolts and I made ourselves some spacers. This one here, the bigger one's gonna go on the bottom side of the rail, and then the bolt I got was a little bit too long, so I made a spacer for the top. So we'll have little spacers up top, little spacers on the bottom, and we will get this thing mounted up. So let's grab our rail. I went ahead and threw the injectors in it, and now we can get ready to slap this thing in. I'm gonna put the rail on just like this first, and then we'll come through and button everything up, get the return line on it and the feed line. But I just want to make sure that everything's going to sit properly, so that's where we're going to start. Let's go ahead and get these things set up here. Now I'm going to go ahead and try to put the injectors, push them down in as far as they will go. Just like that. And I think we are good, guys. So now we can go ahead, start hooking up our lines. I'm gonna hook up the return line real quick. Get that one back on there. All right, got our return line hooked up. Gotta grab our crush washers and hook up our feed line. Got a bee flying around in here. Grab our 17mm wrench. I ground the little stopper off on our fuel feed line here that locks it on the rail because of some custom stuff we've had to do. So if you do that, just make sure to hold it when you tighten it. Should be tight enough. Mine feels good. Rail feels good. All the injectors feel pretty good. Now what I'm gonna do is, before we go any further, I'm just gonna go and cycle the key, let it get some fuel pressure, and make sure that we don't have any crazy leaks. So you guys just keep an eye up here. I'm gonna go cycle the key a couple times and see if we have any fuel spraying anywhere. You guys see any fuel leaks? That one seems good. All right, everything looks dry to me. So now we can go ahead and continue hooking everything up. I'm gonna hook up our regulator line, our vacuum reference. Gonna untangle this stuff. Get our little quick connect vacuum block we made. So like I mentioned before, we're using these adapters on the injector itself. They are the painless style ones. They just clip directly onto the injector itself. And then we will be hooking up our wired style ones. Just because right now I'm not positive if these injectors are going to work out for us. But I wanted to be able to try them, because if they do, for $50, this was definitely a come up. So let's go ahead and grab our other adapters here. We're gonna have to get these guys hooked up, and then we will be able to figure out where we can put our harness. I hate to be doing this double adapter stuff, but for now it should work. And like I said, guys, this whole project has been about doing this as cheap as possible and as efficient as possible for the price. And sometimes that means that you just have to make things work. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't even have to be exactly what you want to do. As long as it's going to get the job done that you're trying to accomplish, sometimes you just got to go with it. Make sure you get that nice clip from all of them, so we know that they're fully engaged. There we go. Tuck this harness right back here for now. Might not be the prettiest thing we've ever done, but it's going to work. So let's go ahead, get a zip tie for our little vacuum block. Get our vacuum lines hooked back up. This one to our wastegate, and this one to our blow-off valve. Now we can try to start it. I don't think it's going to start without a different tune on it, without getting him over here on the keyboard, but we can give it a shot and just see what it's going to do. Everything went together decently, making those adapters, the spacers and stuff for the rail, and the way they went into the manifold was a little bit weird, but I think it's going to work out, so let's go ahead and give it a shot. Well, I didn't think it was going to work, but it was worth a shot. So let's go ahead and grab the laptop. I'll see if there's anything I can do, but honestly, guys, I kind of doubt it. I'm no tuner. I never claimed to be, but we'll get our boy over here soon and see if he can't give us a hand. Alright guys, so I am no tuner by any means, but with a little bit of guidance from our boy, I went in here and I selected 600cc DISASSEMBLY to help get us some dead times, because with these things being so cheap, I don't have any info on them. So I was able to do that, and then I came in here and just pulled the entire map down. I pulled a ton of fuel out of this thing all the way across the board, and we've got it revving pretty good. So think I'll probably leave it about here for now. We'll get it on the street, and then we'll get it on his dyno and see what we can do with this thing. But I'm just happy to have it running. It's doing really good. So make sure we don't have any leaks, and then hopefully get this thing tuned pretty soon. So as you guys seen last night, I did end up getting this thing to fire up. When we first got the injectors in it, I went and hit the key. I didn't think it was going to start, and it didn't. It popped and banged and stuff and just didn't want to run. So I got into the Honda on my laptop, and I was able to play around with it a little bit. I used the DISASSEMBLY 600cc injectors for dead times. Since we did pick up these injectors secondhand and they were super cheap, I didn't get any kind of sheets with them with the dead times or flow rates or anything like that. So I kind of just had to take some shots in the dark with the guidance of our boy over at Stoll Innovations. He gave me a few pointers and things to look for, and I was able to play around with it and get it figured out pretty decently quick and get this thing running. So we've got it running, and it revs up pretty crisp and clean. He's going to stop by later tonight. If he has some time, he'll take a look at it. If not, he's going to drop off a wideband that I can use for now to try to play around with it myself and try to learn some things. But while we're waiting for the wideband, I'm going to go ahead and get some plugs thrown in this thing. We went with the BKR7E NGK plugs. We're going to get them gapped down and get them thrown in real quick. Go ahead and pop all of our plug wires loose. These are new. I did these a little while back because we had a bad one. So no reason to change these again. Just gonna get these all pulled out. Set those off to the side. Now I do have these, I made it for an LS, so it is numbered in an LS pattern, but we're gonna use it 1, 2, 3, 4 for now, just for the Honda here. I like to do this so that we can keep track of the plugs that we pull out, so that if we find a cylinder that has an issue or a plug that looks a little bit wonky after the fact, we know which cylinder it actually came out of. So let's go ahead and grab a spark plug socket and we'll start popping these guys out. Throw them right there. Had Denzos in it for some reason. Alright, so that's good news. They all look fine, just super rich. So, as you guys can see them all right here, they just look super black and sooty and rich. So, we're going to go ahead and leave those off to the side for now. I'm going to set them on the toolbox. And since the LS is a V8, I've got another one of these. So I'm gonna go ahead and get our plugs gapped. We'll set them in this so that when we're ready, we can just boom, 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 bang right through it. We've got all 4 gapped down to what we want. So now I'm just gonna go through and thread them in by hand, and then we'll come through and tighten them up. All right, now we can throw our wires back on. All right, guys, so it is the next day, and as you can probably tell in my voice, I feel like crap, but last night we went and picked up the wideband from our boy Stoll Innovations. He's got a nice little mobile one that he uses for cars that don't already have a wideband, and he was nice enough to let us borrow it. So we've got his whole little setup, but first thing that we've got to do is get this sensor thrown in. So when I built this downpipe, I put a plug in there for an O2 sensor or a wideband, so we can just go ahead and simply pop our plug out and get this sensor thrown in there. All right, guys, so I'm feeling a little bit better today. We did get the wideband hooked up and ran in the car. I just have it chilling in there because, as you guys know, I borrowed it from our buddy, so we're gonna have to give that back to him at some point. So I didn't go crazy. I just made a little aluminum stand for that gauge to sit in so I could set it there, and then I just ran the wires and plugged it into our ECU, just chilling for now. But we do have that all hooked up and ready to go, and our new injector should be good to go. So we'll get this thing fired up. I have to put some gas in it, and then we'll take it out for a ride and see what we can do with it. Like I said, I am no tuner. I'm just trying to figure this out a little bit here. I've got the idle close to 14.7. We're gonna try taking it down the road just a little bit and just see what it does. And then we'll come back and make a couple changes. I lifted. I can keep working on the wide open throttle stuff. That stuff, in my opinion, is easy. It's the drivability, getting this thing to drive good, that is harder. So I'm working on that, and then we'll start getting into some power pulls. But let's go back to the house, make some changes, and try it again. So as you guys have seen, I've been driving this thing around a whole bunch and doing some tuning on it, and it's really starting to come together. It's been a really fun process. I've been wanting to learn to tune for quite some time, and this just happened to be the perfect time. Huge shout out to Stolen Innovation. He's been in my corner the whole time. Anytime I've had a question, I've reached out to him, and he has been more than happy to answer that question, but also explain to me why I need to do the things I'm doing, which helps me understand it. So it's been a really fun process altogether, a little bit frustrating at times, but if it's something that you guys want to learn, I definitely recommend just getting out there and doing it, because in the end, it's actually super gratifying to see something that wouldn't run at all to now we're able to take it out and drive around, and it's actually driving pretty good. We do have a few little drivability issues, but once we get it to his dyno and he can either be right there over my shoulder or doing it himself, I'm sure we'll have this thing ironed out. I've been super impressed with how easily it was to make our super cheap $50 Facebook Market Find injectors work on this combo. I was kind of worried about it at the beginning because we didn't have any data sheets, but they seem to be working out perfect for us. So super happy about that. And I'm also super happy with this little turbo. I was worried that this little tiny engine wasn't going to want to spool this thing up and it was going to be kind of lazy, but it seems to have really good street manners. As always, I appreciate you guys for checking out the channel. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and ring that bell, and check us out on all of our other social media platforms: Facebook, TikTok, and Bought to Build Official on Instagram. We will be getting this thing out to the dyno at Stolen Innovations here very soon to see what we can make with our super cheap turbo kit. So make sure to stay tuned for that, and we will catch you on the next one.